What's up, guys, and welcome to Movie Emporium. This is a little bit different type of review. Before we begin, of course, hit the subscribe button, join Movie Emporium, hit the notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next, and comment below on any video that you watch. So, I already put out my Gemini Man review. I didn't really like this movie. I thought it had interesting ideas, but it doesn't really follow through on what makes an Ang Lee movie a really good Ang Lee movie. This is not a good Ang Lee movie. It had like some really good script writers, but it got lost in translation somewhere. I don't know what happened. It just doesn't work. If you want to watch the video, I'll put it in the description below, but the opportunity arises where the theaters are going to finally show something of this film where they're going to show it in like 4K 60 frames a second, or they're going to show it in 4K 24 frames a second like it's normally done. But this movie was originally shot in a 4K 120 frames a second in 3D, and it was supposed to give it more lifelike feel, and the visuals were supposed to be a lot more enhanced. And it gave Ang Lee the ability to kind of work the lighting systems, work how to create realism in a fictional world. So if you ever watch The Hobbit in 48 frames a second, you can really see like the building structures, and you can see how cheap it looks and how cheap the filmmaking can kind of be. And then he has to deal with the problems of, can he make a young CG Will Smith look realistic in that frame rate? Because everything shows up when you start filming higher and higher frame rates. And I want to see it in its original format because I want to know what it's like to experience the director's vision. I'm really interested to see what Avatar 2 and 3 and 4 with James Cameron using this tech is really going to be like, because he's going to use heavy CG. And if there's anybody who can pull it off, not only is it Ang Lee, but James Cameron can pull that off. So I'm really excited for that. Well, I'm sitting in the line to see Gemini Man, and I get this text from a friend, and he says, read this. And I said, okay. So I read it, and it basically says 14 theaters across America are going to show this movie in 120 frames a second. I'm like, okay, I'm sure it's going to be in New York, LA, Seattle, San Francisco, all that good stuff, which it is. And then I started looking at the list. I'm like, holy crap. I'm literally at the theater right now of one of those 14 theaters that's going to show it in 120 frames a second. I got on my phone, got on the AMC A list, ordered my ticket right there and then. Yes, I'm going to go see it to do my review, but I want to see it in 120 frames a second. The unfortunate thing is because these projectors can't show 4K and 120 frames a second, they have to downgrade it to 2K, which is a problem because if you watch 4K long enough, you start seeing, when you downgrade, you really start to notice these things. So I went to see it in 2K, 120 frames a second with 3D. And let me tell you something. There is nothing out there quite like seeing a movie in 120 frames a second. It is visually arresting and unsettling and kind of cool to watch. There are shots in this movie that are so lifelike that it almost seems like you're looking through a window. And boy, howdy, man, I'm telling you what, if you have the opportunity to see this film in 120 frames a second, if you're near one of these 14 theaters, go see it, because even though the movie's not good, what Ang Lee is doing here really shows you the power of what good cinema can be. It doesn't mean it's perfect. It just really proves that if a director has the vision, has the ability to do something, knows what they're doing, they can make an effective experience. And that's what movies should be, is an experience. You know, there are shots in this movie where, you know, for instance, you're on a boat or you're in the motorcycle chase that you see in the trailer, and it's like being right there. It's almost like you're with the video camera. You know, there's shots when they're in a plane, when the plane's flying away, or the helicopter, and it really feels like it's there. It's so impressive. And the 120 frames a second, as long as the visual work is done properly, it really does work. And there are shots with the CGI Will Smith that I complained about, which are almost entirely fixed because of this 120 frames a second. it is a stunning thing to look at. It doesn't mean all the shots of him are perfect, because the last few shots of the young Will Smith are still awful to look at. But man, I don't know what to say. It's just like, you're afraid because of what happened with The Hobbit that the movie's going to be uncomfortable to watch, and it really isn't. You really kind of get focused and you kind of get used to it after a couple minutes. It does move quickly. It does, jar the brain, because your brain thinks of 24 frames a second. That's the way your eyes look. So it does, you do notice it, but it's so like natural in how it's being played out that it's really, really, really impressive. And I give a lot of credit to what Ang Lee is doing here, because he is setting a bar, I guess you could say, where movies can tell stories and do it in this format and do it well, as long as you know how to do it. No, you can't do the typical makeup effects or the typical buildings that you see on sound stages unless you really know what you're doing, because all the locales that Ang Lee is doing here are all realistic. They're all on set. They're all in the cities that they're filming in. The lighting, a lot of it looks natural. A lot of it I was complaining about in the 24 frames a second version that seemed like a really off are really fixed here, because this movie is meant to be seen in this format, because the lighting has to be specific or it looks fake. It's like the sets, it'll look fake. The makeup, it'll look fake, and you can really tell the difference of what they're going with here by seeing that. And it's just, I don't know what to say. When you see that, it's too bad that there's only one way to see it in the theater, and it's too bad there's only 14 screens. They need to get this technology, to in more theaters, but it's expensive. And it's a shame that I couldn't see it in 4K, because I think it would have enhanced it even more. But man, I'm telling you what, 120 frames a second, I was afraid it was going to be terrible. I even, told people, I'm like, my mind's probably going to explode from like too fast paced and whatever you want to call it. But you know what? I am impressed. I'm excited. I want to have a TV that has 120 frames a second. I know there are computer monitors that can do like 240 frames a second, but the idea of an artist and the idea of a film being able to do it correctly to make it, it does look like motion smoothing, but it looks natural, which is really weird, because motion smoothing does not look natural. It's not saying it's perfect, because this is still a kind of bleeding edge technology that is going to improve as years go along. I think 30 years from now, this is going to be the standard for filmmaking and movies. I think the 24 frames a second is kind of on its way out. It doesn't mean it's not going to be there forever. I'm just saying it's going to be on its way out, but it's impressive. It really is. And like I said, if you live in any of these 14 states or these 14 locations, or you live near it, definitely go see it, because it's definitely worth it. You won't probably like the movie, but at least you'll appreciate what Ang Lee is doing here, what he's trying to accomplish, and what James Cameron is probably going to bring to the table. Ang Lee knows what James Cameron is doing. He's probably visited the set, because this technology is so limited right now that they probably have worked together to try and figure out how to use this effectively, I guess you could say. So, but that's pretty much it. That's all I'm really going to say. I guess there's not really much more else to talk about. I just want to get my thoughts on the 120 frames a second. It's an interesting experience, and it's really worth the money and the price, and really worth, it's kind of like going to Disneyland and riding Space Mountain for the first time, or going to Universal and riding that, Hagrid's ride or whatever. It's just a fun time, and you're going to enjoy it. And it might be a little off-putting to some people, but everybody in the theater, nobody left, which was pretty crazy. So there you go. That's 120 frames a second for Gemini Man. But yeah, there you go. So that'll do it. If you do see it in this format, please comment below, because I'd be interested to see what your take is on it. If you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. I enjoyed it, but that's just my take on it. So, but as always, hit the subscribe button, join Movie Emporium, hit the notification bell at the top to find out what's coming next, and of course, comment below on any video that you watch. But I'm winded now, and I'm going to bed. Peace out. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these 2 videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.